Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
All right, everyone. I'm Jasper Gonzo, of course. This is What's Next. Happy Friday. Yes, TGIF. And again, lies, lies, and more lies. But, of course, we're going to continue the trend. My last video, of course, we revisited another episode of Assume the Position. And we're going right back there. Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. Democrat Mondaire Jones abolished the filibuster, packed Supreme Court to pass gun control. Yes, a unheard of representative from New York. Yes, that lovely state of New York where crime is so low. I'm sorry, what? Where crime is out of control. Excuse me, where crime is out of control. Not Chicago crime out of control, not Baltimore crime out of control, but out of control nonetheless, with an incompetent governor, an incompetent mayor, and of course, an incompetent police commissioner and an incompetent congressman to represent them. Progressive Democrat Mondaire Jones said during a House Judiciary Committee hearing on Thursday that Democrats will go to extraordinary lengths to pass major gun control. Jones spoke before the Judiciary Committee as House Democrats continue to consider gun control legislation, which of course will fall on deaf ears. During his impassioned speech, he said that Republicans cannot stop the Democrats. You cannot stop us. We are unstoppable from passing said reform because some Democrats will go to extreme lengths, yes, unconstitutional lengths, to pass gun control legislation. This includes breaking the legislative filibuster and packing the Supreme Court. He had no problem saying it. Time after time, you have chosen the right to kill over our right to live. Yeah. A little over the top, aren't we? New York Democrats said, referring to the Republicans, Jones declared during the hearing, "You will not stop us from advancing the Protecting Our Kids Act today. You will not stop us from passing it in the House next week. You will not stop us there. And if the filibuster obstructs us, we will abolish it. If the Supreme Court objects, we will expand it. And we will not rest until we have taken the weapons of war," of course, that is so broad and vague that no one knows what the hell that is, "out of circulation, out of our community." Here's the buffoonery.
Our lives the same as you did when you were kids, but we can't let you get away with this anymore. Enough is enough. Enough of you telling us that school shootings are a fact of life when every other country like ours has virtually ended it. Enough of you blaming mental illness and then defunding mental health care in this country. Enough of your thoughts and prayers. Enough.
Wow.
Enough.
Wow.
You will not stop us from advancing the Protecting Our Kids Act today. You will not stop us from passing it in the House next week, and you will not stop us there. If the filibuster obstructs us, we will abolish it. If the Supreme Court objects, we will expand it, and we will not rest until we have taken weapons of war out of circulation in our communities.
Oh my. Fiction can be fun, huh, kids? It's nice to live in fantasy land. This Mondaire Jones is a fun ass clown. Now, back to the stories. House Judiciary Committee Ranking Member Jim Jordan, Republican Ohio, said during his opening statement, Democrats are not serious about passing meaningful firearm reform and merely want to score political points for their base. Facts, facts, and more facts. But, of course, we can't leave Republicans out of the mix because there are several Republicans in the Senate who want to play along. Mitch McConnell, anyone? Democrats never once reached out to seek our input on legislation we consider here today. Protecting our children is not a Republican nor Democrat issue. The Democrats have cobbled together a package of measures. This is not a real attempt, in my judgment, to find solutions. Everyone here knows the reality that the Democrats are in control of the House. Anything that you or Speaker Pelosi wants to pass, you can pass. For now, and frankly, you've already passed numerous bills related to firearms this Congress. But because those bills are radical attempts to legislate away the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, the Senate has not taken up the legislation, just like it won't take up this bill. And knowing Jim Jordan, it's not going to come to pass. But let's hear the clown show regarding this clown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, life is precious, especially the lives of children. What happened in Uvalde, Texas is tragic. It is every family's worst nightmare. Our hearts go out to the Uvalde community and especially to the families who've lost loved ones last week in this evil act of violence. And of course, there's what happened yesterday in Tulsa and a few weeks ago in Buffalo, and our hearts go out to those families as well.
Whatever happened to
No one
that?
wants another tragedy.
Oh, that's right.
No one wants this
Memory
to happen
hold.
again. That's why it's regretful that Democrats have rushed to a markup today in what seems more like political theater than a real attempt at improving public safety or finding solutions. The Democrats never once reached out to us to seek our input on the legislation we are considering here today. Protecting children is not a Republican or Democrat issue. The Democrats cobbled together a package of measures. This is not a real attempt, in my judgment, to find solutions. Everyone here knows the reality. Democrats are in control of the House. Anything that you and Speaker Pelosi want to pass, you can pass. And frankly, you've already passed numerous bills related to firearms this Congress. But because those bills are radical attempts to legislate away Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, the Senate has not taken up the legislation, just like it won't take up this bill.
Knucklehead. Jerry Nadler, out of New York. Gee, I'm sensing a trend. Dana Loesch schools Jerry Nadler after insane mansplaining about female gun ownership. It never fails to amaze me how usually the same powerful movers and shakers who are protected to the gills with armed security, who are the ones who are essentially telling the common man and woman that they, on the other hand, don't need police to firearm to protect themselves. That is unfortunately exactly how it played out Thursday during a House Judiciary Committee markup session on the news legislation crafted by Committee Chair Jerry Nadler, that Democrats say is aimed at protecting children from gun violence in the aftermath of a horrific mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, where a deranged 18-year-old gunman murdered 19 children, ages 11 and under, and of course 2 teachers. We reported earlier on how the woke freshman House Democrat Mondaire Jones went nuts during the committee meeting by tyrannically declaring that Democrats will do whatever it takes, including abolishing the filibuster and expanding the Supreme Court if they need it in order to pass their controlled bills. But his fellow New Yorker Nadler didn't do himself any favors either. So,
and I'd yield
The
back to
gentleman
the
yield?
chair. Yes.
The gentleman yield. Gentlelady yield. I just want to add that there is no research to support the idea that women's gun ownership increases their safety, regardless of whether they're in-person violence victims. In fact, studies show the opposite, that women living in households with a firearm are at greater risk of homicide. A study of female intimate partner homicide risk factors found that even for women who lived apart from their abuser, there was no evidence of protective impact from owning a gun. And a California study found that women who purchased a gun died by firearm homicide at twice the rate of women who did not. I'll yield back.
and once again, you're citing California, which means it's worthless. Popular conservative radio talk show host Dana Loesch, who is a savage, and check out her podcast, a former spokeswoman for the NRA, immediately slammed Nadler for the insane mansplaining and tweeted out numerous links to prove that women who own guns were able to use them and either protect themselves or a loved one from harm. Dana Loesch, easy for a man protected by guns to mansplain to women that we should disarm. Tell this woman. And of course, she puts a number of Twitter links and news articles to prove the opposite. She continues, mansplain to these women. Again, a number of news articles that women protecting themselves from intruders and or those closest to her from physical abuse. Chicago woman with concealed carry fire would be carjackers. He looked surprised, and of course, we know what happened. She took him out. On Twitter, one user tried to make sense of Nadler's argument but couldn't. More women are more likely to be killed by their partners, which is why we need to make sure that women don't get guns. What? The woman wondered incredulously. Another asked him, really? Sure didn't make my stalker think twice. This, of course, isn't the first time Loesch has ripped into a gun control proponent whose idea of a woman protecting herself is to have her rely and wait on someone else. When far-left journalist Aaron Repub smugly suggested in March, tweet that women in abusive relationships who worry that they wouldn't make it through the night without a gun should just call the popo. Loesch responded accordingly by pointing out the following inconvenient facts. Average response time equals 10 to 18 minutes. Protective orders are trash. As someone who's had a man to break into her home, my gun is there before the police. End of story. Stop disarming women. Anyone who thinks that just call the police and have them act like a private security clearly has the progressive male privilege of never experiencing abusive situations like this, i.e. soy boys. Sadly, Democrat men are still telling us who they really are in the issue, while at the same time they're rushing to the microphones to be counted as the biggest defenders of, quote, women's rights. Of course, now these are real women, before men were pregnant, whatever happened to them? Oh, to control her own destiny via abortion or whatever. An absolute joke, but not a funny one at all. My thoughts. This one went on a little bit longer only because of the 2 articles, and I wanted to hear, of course, I wanted you to hear the buffoonery, the assholery that is Mondaire Jones. Packing the court. Getting rid of the filibuster. We are going to do whatever we can. You will not stop us. Dude, you sound like another clown, Cory Booker, Spartacus. Now, regarding Nadler. Now, Nadler has been around for a million years, and of course, the longer he goes, the more stupid he gets. But no surprise there. And again, out of New York. Wow. But of course, Dana Loesch, I'm mispronouncing her last name. I do apologize. Pretty much set him straight with common sense and facts. Gee, what a concept. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.